What's up, Nomads? It is me, the crazy guy, back with another video, Camper Dude Joe. And today I want to discuss an article, this one right here, that I saw recently in the news, discussing, all of the negatives and the downsides of van life and living in a vehicle, living in a car, what have you. And it paints a pretty bleak picture of this lifestyle. So that's what I want to go over today, because I'm pretty opinionated about this article. It got me a little hot under the collar, so we're going to go over, is van life dead? Is the end near? Is it here? That's what we're going to discuss today, guys. Going to be a good one. So, as always, let's get to it, guys. So here is the article, guys, and this came out last week. I saw this last week. It was published, as you could see here, on March 31st, which was about a week and a half ago. And I just had very mixed opinions on this article. It got me a little hot under the collar because it kind of skewed everything a certain way, and I don't know, it seemed a little clickbaity to me, and it seemed a little out there, and I didn't agree with everything, so that's what we'll discuss today. But, so here's the title: Van Lifers reveal the most difficult challenges of roving lifestyle. Everything is 10 times harder. So let's start with the title here. Again, a little clickbaity in my opinion. Is everything 10 times harder? Absolutely not. Yes, there are challenges, some very, very big ones in this lifestyle. You might not have a toilet in your vehicle, or a bathroom in your vehicle, or a shower. That can be a big one. Just getting used to, certain things like the isolation and all of that. So, yes, certain things are harder, but is everything harder? No. I think they're painting with a very, very, very broad brush here, to begin with. So moving down, we have a nice picture here of a bright, sunny, happy van lifer. What is her name? Sienna Julin, it looks like. And moving down, so here's where the article begins. So much for the fantasy. Good play on words. The dream of ditching expensive apartments for Instagram-worthy nomadic RV adventures and endless excitement took off at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. But the van life movement shows signs of slowing amid return-to-office mandates and high gas prices, as trailblazers spill about the speed bumps in their journeys, including unforeseen repair costs, isolation, safety concerns, and tiresome logistics, among other shortcomings. Everything is 10 times harder, Sienna Julin, 23, admitted to the Wall Street Journal last week. But everything is also amazingly beautiful and rewarding. Julin of Missouri confessed she is working three part-time jobs to recover the $5,000 she spent to fix the transmission of the white Ford Transit she purchased in August. So let's break this down, guys. So first off, as the article said here, yes, the van life and vehicle dwelling movement, because I myself live in a car. I don't live in a van, but same thing. I have many, many friends that live in Sprinters and regular high top vans and all of that fun stuff. It's all the same. Yes, this lifestyle absolutely exploded during COVID-19 because, people had a reduced work schedule. A lot of people quit their jobs, or they were laid off, or, things like that, and they had a lot more time on their hands. And so, a lot of people were kind of rediscovering things in their life, and a lot of people tried van life and living in vehicles. And so it absolutely just took off like a rocket during COVID-19. And, what's happening now is, as this article shows, you have a lot of people that jumped into this lifestyle without doing the proper research. Let me repeat that: without doing the proper research. And they're finding out now the hard way that it wasn't for them. As the article says here, unforeseen repair costs, isolation, safety concerns, and tiresome logistics being some of the excuses for the downsides of this lifestyle. And yes to all of them. They are a very real component of the van life, the vehicle dwelling lifestyle, guys. No doubt about that. But, they are challenges. And as I always say, there's challenges in anything you do in life. Whether you live in a house, whether you live in an apartment, whether you're married, whether you're dating someone. Whatever you do in life, guys, there are going to be challenges. That's just the unfortunate reality of life, and you have to get used to it. So, I mean, it's a little bit funny that, people are dropping out of this lifestyle because of these so-called logistics, and I put that word logistics in air quotes, because, listen, as this young lady said, but everything is also amazingly beautiful and rewarding. There's trade-offs that you have to make in this lifestyle. And repair costs and isolation and safety concerns and all of that stuff are among them. So let's move on here. Okay, here's another picture of the young lady here. Looks like she's backpacking somewhere. Okay, and the article continues, and freelance photographer Emily Hofferber, 28, griped to the Journal about the exhausting complexities of daily decision-making, such as evaluating the safeness of sleeping conditions at truck stops. You're always just having to make big choices and think about all of the tiny things you need for survival. Even more frustrations were shared in a recent post to the Reddit Van Dwellers channel. I only spent a few months living van life and had a nervous breakdown, one Redditor penned. My mental health wasn't the best to begin with, so perhaps take that with a grain of salt. I still feel that van life is a fantastic way to live. I was van lifing at the height of COVID, so very, very isolated. I had envisioned making lots of friends along the way. Making friends takes time. You don't just meet someone and become close over a weekend, another Redditor replied. Adding, additionally, a lot of the expenses of van life come from moving. The obvious thing is gas costs, but less obviously, moving around a lot means you don't have a chance to learn where to get supplies like groceries inexpensively. So you end up paying more money for everything you buy. Okay, let's break this down because that was a lot. So, daily decision makings like sleeping at truck stops, guys. Sorry, yes, you have to be very, very careful on the road when you live as a nomad. Crime, unfortunately, is, it's among us in this day and age. But that goes for daily life, too, even if you're not a nomad. You always have to be aware of your, surroundings at all times because, sometimes bad things do happen to people. Nomads among us. But to say that, it's exhausting to keep up with, sleeping conditions at truck stops, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, I myself, and trust me guys, I know truck stops. I stay at truck stops and rest stops on the highways and things like that 90% of the time. Yes, absolutely, you always have to be aware of your surroundings. But to say that it's exhausting to do that is very far-fetched. It's very simple. Before you ever go to a new place, look it up on Google Images, look it up on Google Maps, read the reviews on that place. Even highway rest stops have reviews. Are there bathrooms at the place? Do they work? Are there restaurants there? Does it look like a high crime area? These are all things that you have to do before you ever go to a new place and you sleep overnight. But to say that is, exhausting or overwhelming, I mean, that's a very, very big stretch to me. Okay, the blurb about mental health on the road here, guys, that is, and I will admit that is a very, very big thing that you have to be very mindful of on the road. Especially if you have mental health issues. I myself suffer from OCD and a fair bit of anxiety. And yes, living on the road can be very, very isolating. It could be very lonely. There's a lot of time you have to yourself. And depending upon your mental well-being and the type of person you are, that may or may not be, such a good thing. So you do have to be very, very mindful of that. But, is it much different than living in a house or an apartment? I don't know. I mean, you're definitely going to have more alone time in a vehicle, whether that vehicle is a van or a car or whatever it is. And you just have to be mindful of that, guys. I mean, you have to be on top of, if you do have mental health concerns or issues, you obviously have to be on top of that. You know, if you need to be on medication, be on medication. You know, it's definitely helpful to speak to friends and family and to be in contact with them via email or phone. I have a very large group of friends and relatives that I'm in constant contact with. So yeah, you do have to be very, very mindful of that. It is an issue. As for the, you know, thing about expenses in this article, I don't know what, you know, these particular van lifers were doing, the ones that they spoke to in this article. Yes, just like living in a house or an apartment, van life, like anything else, could be very, very expensive. It comes down to budgeting, being sensible, living within your means, and all of that stuff. That's vital. It also depends on the vehicle you have. You know, if you chose a vehicle and, you know, it's constantly breaking down or things like that, yes, absolutely. This lifestyle can get very, very costly very quickly. So there are pitfalls involved. But if you do it the right way and you get the right vehicle and you take care of it and you do all of that stuff, trust me when I tell you guys, this lifestyle rather, can be dirt cheap. I mean, if I told you guys what I survive on, and not only survive on, but live like a king, I think most people would be shocked. And I'll go over that in a separate video. But yeah, I mean, so to paint with too broad of a brush that this lifestyle has sky-high costs and all of that, you know, I don't know. I mean, that's just making kind of a blanket case against this lifestyle, which really isn't the case. You know, yes, gas is very, very high now. You know, here in New Jersey, it's like $3.60, $3.70 a gallon as I'm doing this video. And here's the thing. There's a very, very simple way around that. And that is not to travel as much. That's what I do. And that's why I myself am a big proponent for staying more or less in one general area. You know, I bounce between New York, New Jersey, you know, Connecticut, and PA, 3 or 4 states mainly. And I'm in one place for weeks, sometimes months at a time. So for me, you know, gas, you know, fuel isn't a big concern. And if it is a big concern for you, well, the answer is very, very simple. You know, just don't move around as much. You can sleep in the vehicle almost anywhere you want. You have free rent. So the way around spending more on gas is just not to travel as much. It's very, very simple. Okay, so moving on. In asking, is van life coming to an end, Men's Journal noted in November that the rise of van rental programs allows wanderlust to test out the lifestyle on the road without making a full-time commitment. Some aspiring acolytes are determining it's not for them. Katie Weaver, for one, described her short-lived 2013 Ford Econoline E150 adventure as cramped, slovenly, and bad in the New York Times article. Still, others remain devoted to the movement. Abby Jocelyn, who has 133,000 Instagram followers, told Marketplace last month that despite getting into an accident last summer that sidelined her van for 5 months, she has no plans of stopping the lifestyle. I feel like I haven't done everything that I wanted to yet, she said. Yeah, so the last part of this article just discusses the van life rental companies that are out there, and yes, there are a million of them online, and you can go and rent a van or even a little Nomad vehicle for camping to see if this lifestyle is for you, and I think those companies are a great idea because, you know, they allow people to, you know, basically test out in a short way for short durations if this lifestyle is for them. And that is critical, guys. That is crucial before you kind of drop everything and hit the road full time to live in a vehicle, which I've seen so many people do. Because as this article discusses, yes, there are a lot of pitfalls, just like any other aspect of life. They're easily solved. They're easy. You could, you know, you could address all of them very, very simply, but there are challenges. So I think testing out whether this lifestyle is for you is absolutely critical before jumping in full time. And unfortunately, you know, I think a lot of van lifers and vehicle dwellers, especially during, you know, the pandemic, COVID-19, they kind of jumped right in because it was kind of the in thing. It was the the popular thing on Instagram and online to do. And, let's face it, this lifestyle is not for everyone. It takes a certain individual to make this lifestyle work. Mentally, physically, all of that. And a lot of, van lifers are finding out now the hard way that, it's not for them. So that's not a surprise. But I do think that a lot of people can do van life successfully. I think that if more people tried it, they would discover the joys that it can bring to your life that I have. It's a very, very, very rewarding lifestyle. The things you experience, the people you meet, the stories you hear, just how you can grow as an individual. But is it for everyone? No, absolutely not. So whether you rent a van at a van rental company, or even if you just try this out in your own car or your own van or your own vehicle, just for a couple of days here and there, or go on a camping trip and try living in your vehicle for 3 or 4 days, whatever it is, I think that is so critical before kind of jumping in and selling your house or leaving your apartment or quitting your job and doing this full time. That is really, really critical. And I have many articles on my blog about that, guys. So definitely check that out. I'll leave a link here. But yeah, so here's the thing. My thoughts on this article are, to me it's pretty obvious. They're trying to basically say in a nutshell that van life is dead. Vehicle dwelling is dead. It's too challenging. People are coming out of the woodwork like crazy now, discussing pointing out all of the negatives and the downsides. And they're basically saying, the fad of van life, of vehicle dwelling is over. It's dead. It's, the moment has passed. The novelty has worn off. Whatever you want to say. I think that's kind of the angle that the article was going for. And to be very blunt, I don't agree with it at all. I live 24/7 in my vehicle in a Toyota Prius. I've been living in my Prius for about 24 months now. And I can tell you guys, I'm seeing the opposite. What I see from the road is that this is still as popular as ever. Maybe as I've ever seen. Just the other night, couple of nights ago, one of my spots where I stay, it's like a rest area type of spot right off the highway. We had about 4 or 5 campers there. And when I say campers, I mean people living in vans, in cars, etc. And this place is not very big. There's only maybe 20, 25 parking spots. So that means, maybe a quarter of them were filled by, vehicle dwellers. So yeah, I just think the article is there is a lot of truth in the article. Things about the isolation, things about being lonely, how the gas can be expensive, and all of that. And believe me, guys, don't want to downplay those. Those are issues. Those are big issues with this lifestyle. But they are very, very addressable. Any challenge, well, I shouldn't say any challenge, but almost any challenge in life, it's my belief, can be met, can be conquered if you just kind of approach it and you meet it head on and you do your best with it. I suffered a stroke a couple years ago. I could drive. I do everything I used to do. No problem. But I had to rise to the occasion and I had to meet my challenges to conquer them, to beat them. So I do think it's kind of a lot of malarkey. Just their general slant of the article, if you will. But yes, there is some truth to it. Things about the challenges and the lifestyle and the isolation. But I discuss all of those on my blog. They're very easy things to kind of address in this lifestyle. So no, I don't agree with the general overtake of the article, what it's trying to say. If anyone's watching this, there are a lot of us out there, thousands and thousands and thousands of van lifers and vehicle dwellers, just like me, who absolutely, positively love this lifestyle. This lifestyle has changed my life for the better in so many ways that I can't even begin to discuss them in this video. But yeah, I mean, the article just got me a little worked up because of its general slant. And I get it. You know, they're reporting what they want to report. That's the media for you. But, you know, if you read that article, guys, or any similar articles, yes, this lifestyle is not for everyone. And I always say that. It takes a certain type of individual, a certain type of personality to make this lifestyle work. But if you have the personality, if you have the makeup for this lifestyle, my opinion, it can't be beat. Just so many positives. Free rent. You're not paying rent. You could sleep wherever you want, totally free. That's a huge one. The money you can save on the road. The time is probably the number one aspect of this lifestyle. Just because you don't have a huge overhead expenses, you have so much more time to yourself than if you lived in, you know, an expensive house or an apartment or things like that. And I discussed that in another video. Look for that, guys. The biggest benefit of living in a car. Just look for it in my videos. But so yeah, that's my take on the article, guys. I think, you know, there is a lot of truth to it. Some of it's a bunch of malarkey. Van life and vehicle dwelling is definitely not over. It's here to stay. I think it's still growing by leaps and bounds. So if you're thinking about joining the ranks and you want to live in a vehicle of any kind, car, truck, van, whatever it is, watch more of my videos, do a lot of research, visit my blog, and as always, I will see you guys again soon in my next video.